Hey, so a quick share with regard to the conversation I was having with somebody who apparently is about to start receiving presumptive disability payments. So presumptive disability, this is when your case has not been fully worked up medically yet by the SSA. However, based on what's already seen and known to their satisfaction, they think it's highly probable that the DDS will be finding the person disabled. So when that's the case, they can, for people with a hardship, like SSI applicants generally, they can send out those payments, or at least 6 months worth, before the case is even finished. So sometimes it's called expedited payments, but it's for presumptive disability. You are presumed to be disabled based on the plethora of evidence they may or may not have. And when you go to the SSA page that talks about presumptive disability, they give an example of how someone who has an amputation up to the hip might not even need to have medical evidence, as long as that part is clearly so, because apparently that would be an automatic disability. Okay, well, good and dandy. But for the rest of us, it's not very common, I will say. But if that concept applies to you and you have my thoughts in your favor, because I know you're probably going through some tremendous things, yeah, you can get those payments started sooner, so that you can, a lot of times it's the hardship where you're worrying about keeping food on the table, paying for medical bills, doing both of those things and keeping the roof over your head. So that is when it would apply. So generally SSI, we'd be saying. Anyway, I hope that explains presumptive disability. Yeah, it's a very helpful thing. And generally, if it turns out that you don't prevail, I believe you don't generally have to pay it back. I'm going to check that out real quick, but hold on. Back again. Yeah. So if they make a presumption and they pay you, and then it turns out their presumption was wrong and you are declined or disapproved, once DDS gets done with your case, you don't have to pay it back. Obviously, they're very careful when they make the decisions because they don't want to be put in that position. But that's the rule, that they can't have you pay it back. But I wanted to go over, and I'm going to link down below the page where this is all explained by the SSA itself, so you can read it all there. But they give also a dandy little list of when you may be eligible for these presumptive disability benefits paid before the total workup has been completed. So I know we mentioned this before: amputation of a leg at the hip, allegation of total deafness, that is no sound perception in either ear, allegation of total blindness, that is no light perception in either eye, allegation of bed confinement or immobility without a wheelchair, walker, or crutches due to a long-standing condition excluding a recent accident and recent surgery, allegation of a stroke, more than 3 months in the past, and continued marked difficulty in walking or using a hand or arm. In walking or using a hand or arm. Allegation of cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, or muscular atrophy, and marked difficulty in walking. For example, if you use braces, speaking, or coordination of the hands or arms. So these allegations go pretty far. Allegation of Down syndrome, allegation of intellectual disability or other neurodevelopmental impairment. For example, autism spectrum disorder, with complete inability to independently perform basic self-care activities, such as toileting, eating, dressing, or bathing, made by another person filing on behalf of a claimant who is at least 4 years of age. So that one's very interesting. And obviously the person isn't filing for themselves because they can't even do basic care, right? Okay. A child who has not attained their first birthday and the birth certificate or other medical evidence shows a weight below 1,200 grams, which for us Americans who go by pounds and ounces, it's 2 pounds 10 ounces at birth. A child who has not attained their first birthday and available medical evidence shows a gestational age at birth with these corresponding birth weights. And they say gestational age 37 to 40 weeks, weight at birth 200 grams, which is 4 pounds 6 ounces or less. They go through a bunch of gestational age weights. So you'd want to take a look at those details if you happen to be in that situation where the baby has been born very small. Okay. Symptomatic human immunodeficiency virus, that's HIV, infection or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, that's AIDS. And they note particular forms that you're going to want to include with that. Or next, a physician confirms by telephone or in a signed statement that an individual has a terminal illness with a life expectancy of 6 months or less, or a physician or a knowledgeable hospice official. For example, hospice coordinator, staff nurse, social worker, or medical records custodian confirms that an individual is receiving hospice services because of a terminal illness. Allegation of a spinal cord injury producing an inability to ambulate without the use of a walker or bilateral handheld assistive devices for more than 2 weeks, with confirmation of such status from an acceptable medical source. Allegation of end-stage renal disease, ESRD, requiring chronic dialysis, and the file contains a completed particular form that's going to be noted here, and you can find it again in the comments below with the link. So you got to get that particular form in. And last but not least, allegation of ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, one that's near and dear to my heart. Not the disease, the fight against the disease. Okay, so in this same link that I'm going to give you is where they confirm that they will not be, they don't ask you to repay the PD, presumptive disability payments, even if you are later found to not be disabled or blind. However, if you received an overpayment for other reasons, such as excess income, SGA, you were actually earning money, didn't have to do with the fact that they found you not disabled, but because of the SGA, we may ask you to repay some of the presumptive disability back. This is what they say. Okay, so I'm going to close this out, but I just wanted to get through on that. Presumptive disability is generally because the kind of impairment alleged and the little bit of evidence so far makes it very, the presumption is that they're going to find you disabled. So they want to speed up those SSI payments and get them to you faster without you having to wait all that time that we know can sometimes happen. Okay. All right. Have a great night, guys. Bye.